Welcome to Relationship Exposed. In today's video, you're about to witness a story that doesn't just break the rules, it rewrites them. It's not about infidelity, not just betrayal. This is about power, strategy, silence, and the kind of revenge so cold it feels surgical. This is about a woman who didn't just watch her marriage fall apart, she planned every second of its destruction, and made sure she was the one holding the match when it burned. Let me take you to the moment everything began to unravel, or rather, the moment I chose to unravel it. It was a Thursday night, the kind where the silence of the house wraps around you too tight. I was sitting in the guest bedroom, lights dimmed low, glass of red wine in my hand. My phone glowed in my lap. The screen showed a live feed from a hidden camera nestled behind the bedroom mirror. A camera I'd placed myself. A camera I bought for the sole purpose of this moment. She was sitting on the edge of our bed, Vanessa. Legs crossed, one ankle dangling with artificial innocence, her dress a little too tight, her smile a little too eager. She giggled at something he said. That familiar, annoying little laugh, high-pitched, forced, the kind women use when they're pretending not to want something they already decided they'd take. My husband stood before her, unbuttoning his shirt slowly. His hands trembled slightly, barely, but I saw it. I always saw it. He tried to look confident, like he was in control, but the way he avoided her eyes gave him away. He wasn't sure, he wasn't ready, but he would do it anyway. And I knew, because I'd designed it to happen exactly this way. She wasn't prettier than me, not even close, but she was younger, softer, untested. She still believed in things like fairy tales and work crushes and, maybe this is love. That made her easy to manipulate, easy to bait. My husband leaned down and kissed her, right there, on my bed, on my sheets, and I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't throw the wine glass like the movies tell you women should. I smiled, because the truth was, I had invited her into our lives, and now, she was right where I wanted her. Let me rewind, and give you the beginning, not of our marriage, but of our undoing. My name doesn't matter. It never really did in his world. What matters is that I'm not the kind of woman who cries in the shower while her husband texts some fresh-faced assistant under the dinner table. I'm not the woman who asks, why? I'm the woman who watches and waits. We lived in Austin, Texas, the part of town where the grass is always cut low and the smiles are even lower. A place where secrets hide behind high fences and picture-perfect families wave while dying inside. My husband was the CEO of a mid-sized tech firm, the kind of man who wore crisp suits without wrinkles and smiles without guilt, the kind of man who could charm a boardroom and lie to your face without blinking. We had been married for 7 years, no children, not because we couldn't, but because he didn't want them. I told people we were career-focused. What I really meant was, he didn't see fatherhood fitting into his lifestyle. 2 years ago, something started to shift. Not drastically, not like a car crash. More like erosion, slowly, quietly. Sex first turned routine, then rare, then non-existent. At first I thought it was me. Maybe I had gained a little weight. Maybe I wasn't as exciting. Maybe I'd stopped being the fantasy and started being the reality, and he didn't know what to do with that. So I tried. New lingerie, fancy dinners, initiating intimacy, even though I used to think that should be his job. But nothing changed. He always had a reason, a meeting, a headache, an early flight. Eventually, I stopped trying. Not because I stopped loving him, but because I started seeing him clearly. The man I married was gone, replaced by a shell with a schedule and a secret. And I felt it, that sixth sense women develop when something's not right. He hadn't cheated yet, but he was on the edge. That's when the idea hit me like a whisper in the dark. What if I let him? What if I didn't stop him? What if I opened the door and pushed? That's when I met her, Vanessa. I met Vanessa at a networking mixer, one of those wine and canapé events hosted by a woman from my book club who believed that slapping on some lipstick and handing out business cards was the same thing as being powerful. Vanessa stood near the back, sipping something fruity and cheap. She looked out of place, young, fresh-faced, wearing too much perfume, and a dress she probably spent too much on to look casual. Her body language screamed insecurity, wrapped in the illusion of confidence. She told me she was a freelance graphic designer. I smiled politely, but mentally filed her under forgettable. She was the kind of girl who captioned selfies with quotes about healing and alignment, while her life spun quietly out of control behind the screen. She didn't interest me, until I caught her looking at my husband. Not just looking, devouring. You know that look, the one where her eyes pause too long, lips part just slightly, like she's trying to remember how to breathe? That look of hungry admiration disguised as curiosity. He didn't even notice her. He was too busy charming someone near the bar, rattling off business stats and tech jargon like it was poetry. But I saw her, and I tucked that moment away like a spark I'd use to start a fire. That night, after we got home, I casually brought her up while slipping off my heels. She seemed sweet, that girl. Vanessa, right? Maybe I'll invite her over sometime for wine. He barely looked up. Yeah? I didn't really notice her. Liar. And that's how I knew she'd be perfect. 2 weeks later, Vanessa was perched on a stool at our kitchen island, sipping Chardonnay and laughing at one of my stories that wasn't even funny. She was easy to manipulate. All I had to do was say the right things in the right tone. Just enough truth to earn her trust. Just enough vulnerability to bait her sympathy. My husband works too much, I'd say, twirling my wine glass. Sometimes I wonder if he even notices me anymore. You're so young and full of life. I miss being like that. She blushed, said I was too kind, told me she had a boyfriend, but things were complicated. Perfect. Complication meant opportunity. Vulnerability meant cracks I could widen. I offered her a small freelance gig designing a new logo for my boutique home brand. She accepted. Of course she did. And that meant she'd be around more. She'd be in the house. She'd smell him, see him, start thinking things she shouldn't. And she did. She started texting me more. At first, it was innocent. Questions about fonts, design tweaks. Then it turned into things like, "Your husband's really intense, huh? Is he always that serious?" Sometimes I feel like he flirts, but maybe I'm imagining it. I pretended not to notice, played the innocent friend. Honestly, I'd write back, I wouldn't blame him if he was flirting. "You're gorgeous." She didn't know if she should feel flattered or ashamed. That confusion? That was the hook sinking in. Then I found her lip gloss in our bathroom. That wasn't an accident. She hadn't been over in days, and that was my green light.